If you go to all the effort of preparing for and laying new turf, then you want to make sure that you get the best results by caring for it in the right way. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you across sort of the first week to 10 days of having this new buffalo lawn down, some of the things I'm doing to get it established and get it firing. Yes, g'day and welcome to a new video. In the previous video, you saw me laying this new section of turf. And again, a massive thank you to Nathan for coming down from My Home Turf. Learned so much off him, and it was really valuable to have his insight as an expert in the turf industry for many years. So we got all this turf down on this area, and we actually deliberately in some parts chose to not do a perfect job. There's a few sort of projects within the project that I'm really excited to show. And so firstly, one of the first little spots here is we came with a full strip of turf coming off this curved edge here, working with the curves and the irrigation and the turf laying. Lots of fun, but it does look good, I think. So yeah, we've come off here and we had full rolls working off that edge as well. We're left with this little gap. We went to fill it in and I said, hold on a sec, no, leave it, let's leave it. So what I want to do here is just leave this spot. I'm going to fill it in with some of this sandy loam that we've got here. And with this spot, what I want to be able to show is that nice lateral spread and the ability of buffalo to fill in a bare patch. Because Australian warm season grass types, this is what they do. They will naturally spread and fill in gaps. Buffalo, not necessarily the best high traffic grass, but if you do have a little dog or if you do have some kids or whatever, it's still an option where it is going to naturally fill in and it will spread into the gaps. So we'll keep an eye on that little spot. See how long it takes to fill itself in. Now this little spot here, I think is going to be absolutely fascinating to watch grow. So I spoke about it in the last YouTube video, but essentially we've got a little patch here that's probably 4 square meters, tick under 4 square meters, pretty much bang on. And inside it is maybe 1 square meter of turf. So this is probably showing a similar thing to before, and we deliberately sort of underordered or went just kind of bang on, and we knew that we were going to be a little bit short to create this little test patch here. And this again is just showing the ability of buffalo to be able to repair a bare spot. And so just say you had machinery damage, or who knows, you had a pool installed or whatever it may be, you've got your buffalo lawn, you've got an area that needs repairing, so you could chop bits out of it with a shovel, you could use a tool like a pro plugger, anything like that. So we've got in here, just want a little bit, but you've got like little bits, little stolons of that buffalo that have been planted in here. We've got actual decent sized offcuts, and so as long as this gets the water that it needs, it's going to root in there, and this whole area is getting a good amount of water. This area, watching this grow and thrive and take off, it's perfect growing conditions right now, right at the start of summer. We've been getting lots of rainfall, so yeah, great conditions. This is going to be really interesting to watch grow. Now, in terms of the rest of the lawn here, Nathan and I, we did the best job that we could in most of this lawn to lay it really nicely. But the reality is, for me, in the prep work that I did, is that it's 100%, it's not perfect. And it's a good thing to keep in mind if you're a DIY, is that do the best you can, bring in the right material, but you're probably, without being someone who gets those years of experience and has that real eye of being able to see what needs to be done and leveling it out and just see hours and experience of doing it, is that getting it bang on is tough. You're also going to end up with natural variation in the turf rolls and the way it gets cut and all that sort of thing. So it's never going to be an absolute perfect dead flat bowling green when you lay your turf. So this job here, really happy with it, and we've done a good job. Something I actually did do was probably left too much space below my edges, so I need to bring up my levels around some of my edges, and that was something where I sort of realized in my prep, I'm like, okay, I would much rather leave it too low so I can build it up to the edges, because it's a lot harder to dig it out later on to get the edges lower. And also in terms of top dressing and getting my levels right, you know, I can be doing that, you know, a couple of times after laying the turf, and that's completely fine. I'll get my levels that way instead of meticulously move a bit of soil here, move a bit of soil there. I've done a good job, I've done my best, and yeah, if I fix it up with a little bit of top dressing, that's completely fine with me. And so it was something I spoke to Nathan about, and he sort of said, look, Some people, it's a bit like applying products with your reno. Some people are completely like, yep, day you lay your turf, you have to top dress. Some people are like, nah, let it get established and then top dress. So what I'm doing today is giving it a bit of a top dress, probably up until just about around the fire pit area. Just a nice light top dress, that's the plan anyway. But in these turf rolls, you've got all these sections where the turf does join. It's nice and damp under there. You've got all the sections where it joins, and so your edges of your turf is where it's going to dry out the quickest, and that's something you need to keep an eye on in those first couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, depending how long it takes for your turf to knit to the ground. But yeah, so just to join up those joins in the turf, give it a little bit of sand. Some people will come through. I actually saw a really cool idea from Lawn Mog on Instagram. It's just getting an old watering can with the end taken off and coming along just the joins to do a little bit of top dress in just the joins. You can do that. But yeah, I'm gonna give this whole section a bit of a top dress today with the goal of getting it a bit more level, a bit quicker, and just getting a nice true surface, knitting up some of those joints. But before I top dress, I want to show you underdressing. So this is something you can also do if you're not happy with the turf job that you have laid, or you come home and a landscaper's laid it and you're not happy with it yourself, is that you can, especially in those first few days when the turf is probably starting to try and knit down, but it hasn't quite just yet, is you can actually come through and get some soil underneath the turf roll. So instead of having that sand on top, there you go. That's been a little spot where finishing off some stuff up there. I've been walking through a bit. It's a little bit of a damper sort of area with all the rain we've had recently. But now I'm raising that turf up from underneath, which is something that you can also do in any problem little areas you've got. So just got here some leftover washed sand from my spring renos. And yeah, this whole cart here, I believe this cart fills up around about 1/4 of a cubic meter. I don't know why, but I think I'll work that out at some stage. That's what I've always had in my head anyway. So I'll be coming through here and looking to cover around about probably 30 square meters with this. Try and get up about halfway, maybe a little bit further. Might fill up a bit more afterwards. But yeah, just get out a nice little layer here. It'll rub in nicely into the profile. Yeah, we'll get the sand out. So lawn level rake here doing a great job of just pushing this around, finding any joins in the turf or little spots where there may have been a bit of a lump and a bump underneath. So yeah, probably, I don't know, be interesting to see some of the comments, how people feel about it. Probably, yeah, I know that the irrigation, as soon as I put this on, I've got 2 more rounds of irrigation for the day. So once those come through, it's gonna wash it down into the surface a bit more. And just, yeah, naturally, with all the water that it's gonna get over the coming, yeah, couple of weeks, it's gonna settle it down and wash it down into the canopy of the lawn really, really nicely, as well as it starts to knit down and grow back up and through. So, I mean, I'm not absolutely thrilled about top dressing right now, you know, but I guess the actual turf isn't going to be looking its best anyway. So rather than getting it established over the next 3 or so weeks, going, yeah, it looks good, it's, you know, it's going fairly well, but I need a top dress now, I'd rather just do it all at the start and get it all out of the way. So next update is going to be in around about a week, and I'll talk you through then how it's progressing. Well, it's now 6 days later, 7 days since laying, and as you can see, a lot of that sand, for the most part, has disappeared. I'm actually blown away by the amount of top growth that is coming through here, even when, oh geez, that's hard to pull up. Rightio. Yeah, that is hard to pull up. You can see down there some really, really nice roots coming through and trying to grab on. Watering schedule to begin with was, I went with 7 minutes, 4 times a day. So I wanted to be up around that sort of half an hour mark. Initially when the turf was laid, around that time and for a couple of days after, it was quite hot, more so up around 30 degrees, 32 I think the day we laid it. But it's dropped off over the last sort of 4 or 5 days, which is, I'm talking tight time frames here, but yeah, definitely our forecast upcoming in the last few days have been more so around that 20 to 23 sort of mark. So yeah, wanting to use a little bit less water on it as well, just for the general bill at this place. But yeah, I'm at 3 times a day now, so I'm going, I think 7:30, midday and 3:30. Just trying to keep it really, really damp, trying to get it to the point like you almost saw there. I was actually really impressed with that. But trying to be able to get to a point where you're trying to yank on these turf rolls, you're trying to go to the corners and pull it up, and you just can't do it anymore. Geez, it is extremely lush down here. But if we pull this up, yeah, good bit of resistance. Geez, that is beautiful. But we want it to be damp underneath the center of the turf roll, and that is well and truly damp under there. That's awesome. Next run of the irrigation's in an hour and a half, so yeah, definitely well hydrated, which is good. But with that little lush area comes another area where it's, as you can see, starting to actually get a, you know, fair bit of damage. Now this particular turf roll is awfully dry, and this is something that we need to do, is when we get little hot spots like this, even over here where it's a little corner, just because of the nature of where it had to get laid there into that garden edging, is where we need to start looking at these little hot spots and fixing them up, especially for buffalo, where we're only relying on those above ground stolons. And so what I need to do here at least once a day is give those little hot spots, those little dry areas, at least an extra hit of water. So I'm not really too fussed whether I happen to do it you know, morning, evening, whatever. Just at some point, I'm aiming for 1 extra hit of water for spots like this, just to really douse it up, find those areas. Really, yeah, it's pretty good. Up against the edging, there's a little bit of some areas there, because that edging, that steel edging is obviously going to heat up and get a little bit hot in those spots and reflect a bit more heat onto the turf, so it probably needs a little bit of extra care. But yeah, apart from that, really, really happy with how things are going. Gonna give you another update in a few days time. Gonna record another little update, but yeah, it's going really well. Well, it's now 11 days after laying the turf and 10 days since top dressing, and it's looking quite good out here. But the question is, should you top dress your new turf? Because the answer to the question of can you top dress is clearly yes. Something I do need to say about that is the fact that timing in the year really does matter. Because it is prime growing season, it means this turf's going to knit down really quickly, and it means that it's going to grow through and get through that top dress really quickly as well. So yeah, if it's not a time of year when you wouldn't do a lawn renovation, don't do top dressing then. So yeah, you can top dress, but should you? And to be honest, I was thinking about it to record this sort of clip and think about it. I'm like, honestly, do whatever makes sense to you, to be honest. Like, from what I'm looking at, I'm really impressed with how much this has grown through when it's not quite even fully knitted down. Like this turf roll, some parts are like a fair way, like it take a lot of effort to be able to pull them up. There's just a little bit of flex there. If I come to this spot from earlier in the video, I can pull that turf roll up most of the way. Actually, it feels like it's quite well rooted down at that end. Yeah, it is. It's fairly well rooted down in most of that turf roll there, but it's just this part where I still have been hand watering and looking after it a little bit more. And it's a little too soon to tell. It'll probably be more so once I start mowing and that sort of thing, comparing the non-top dress section to the top dress section as to what is more level, what looks better, all of those sorts of things. But honestly, it is incredibly similar to the argument or the question about applying your products before or after top dressing. The answer is that it doesn't really matter. With your top dressing, you know, I've definitely corrected some areas here. One of the biggest factors is the fact that when you do your top dress on turf that has just been freshly laid, it has a lot of settling to do and you're doing a lot of watering and that sort of thing. So probably from that perspective, I probably in future would maybe lean to doing it once I start mowing, to doing that top dress. And I mean, I did want to film and do this comparison for YouTube, but tell you what, if the sand wasn't already in my driveway, there's a chance that I maybe wouldn't have. And even for you, if you do lay your own turf, you've gone through a lot of work to do your preparation to actually lay the turf. So to then add another thing on top of all of that, of ordering some top dress, I guess, you know, you could be using your underlay that you had left over, your sandy loam. But anyway, to add an extra layer, an extra job on top of that at a time when you've already taken a lot of time out of your schedule to be laying the turf potentially, yeah, probably wait 3-4 weeks if it's in growing season to then start correcting any issues that you've got with levels and that sort of thing. So as I'm talking here, I feel like I'm unraveling to the point where I'm sort of feeling like myself that, you know what, just lay your turf, get it established, focus on any little hot spots that might come up, little dry spots. Give it a little bit, give it 3, 4, 5 weeks, whatever it is for you and whenever's convenient, and then do a bit of top dress to correct some spots if that's what you're chasing, depending on the sort of lawn you want to maintain. But yeah, anyway, as you can see behind me here, been doing some serious plant shopping the last couple of days. So this area is coming together really, really nicely. Next video or two will be the first mow on here. So it's very, very well knitted down in most of this entire area. So yeah, we'll be getting a mower on here very, very soon and continuing to show you that. So anything you want to see, let me know in the comments. Coming up to Christmas, so if you're hosting Christmas, hope you got a beautiful lush lawn to do that on. And yeah, look, thanks for watching. See you next time.